Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, for our 6 p.m. Town Board meeting. Clerk, could you please read the roll call?
Councilman Migan?
Here.
Councilwoman Snow?
Here.
Councilwoman Pitt? Here. Councilman McCarthy?
Here.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Here. Please stand and follow us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we jump into the agenda, I just want to make an announcement on behalf of our tax collector. Barbara would like to remind all taxpayers to add telephone numbers with their checks and to return the entire bill with their payment if they want to receive a receipt. All right, so again, just telephone numbers with the checks and return the entire bill with the payment if they'd like to receive a receipt. That's from our taxpayers. First item up tonight, public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant application, CDBG, Town of Pawling, Lathrop Building and Teen Center Facility, ADA Compliance Improvements Project. So I'll make a motion to open the floor for the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is now open. Seeing no comments on the public hearing, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda this evening, I'd also like to welcome our mayor. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Next item on the agenda is the privilege of the floor with respect to agenda items only. Anyone with any comments regarding agenda items tonight, please come up, state your name and address for the record, and if possible, try and keep your comments around 3 minutes. All right, seeing as there's no comments regarding the agenda items only tonight, we move on to resolutions. Resolution 51, I know we discussed this a bit last week. I don't know if anybody has had, any of the board members have had a chance to speak with LaBerge or other companies. We do have some RFPs that are in that we are reviewing. But I think with some of the grants we have going and to keep things moving, I would like to vote on this tonight. And if the opportunity to do this in-house, which I know is an opportunity with Christine, we saw your proposal. I think it's great. And we'd like to move things in-house as much as possible. We can cancel this stuff at any time. And rather than losing time between now and March, we could adopt this, we could get moving on it. And Nancy, just if I don't want to obviously misspeak, but as the board continues discussions with not only other providers, but also with our bookkeeping department to do this internally, if we decide to go that route, we could stop this approval at that point in time and then move it in-house. So for me personally, to not lose time between now and that decision, I am going to put a motion on the floor to approve Resolution 51 for LaBerge, so that while we are continuing discussions to either bring this in-house or go with a different company at a lesser rate, if we feel that it will be satisfied that way, until that time, I don't want to lose time with these grants. A lot of these are time sensitive, and we are pushing through a lot of grants right now, and that's my feeling on it. So I'll make a motion for 51, and I'll ask for a second and discussion, of course.
Second.
Any discussion from the board?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I just want to talk about the RFPs that we sent out, I think in early January. We did get Millennium Strategies and one other grant writer that replied, and I have been calling the references. I've spoken to Millennium Strategies, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Certainly.
But I just wanted to talk about the RFP responses because LaBerge wasn't part of the RFP responses. The other two companies sent their I don't know if it was RFP or RFQ, but
Sure.
they sent all their information regarding pricing, what they can do, all their references. LaBerge did not do that. At least they didn't do it in the proper manner, which was to.
Yeah, because
send
they
it
were
to the
already
clerk.
they were already providing that service for us.
And I'll just talk a little bit more about LaBerge. I wasn't going to get into this, but I'm looking for a grant people that aren't, and I don't want to say that this is exactly what they're doing, so I don't want to misspeak. But we have a company now that gets grants that feeds their other parts of their business with. For example, the 2 grants were gotten by LaBerge to update our master plan, comprehensive plan. We turned around and hired, with that 90,000, LaBerge to oversee the master plan. I'm looking for somebody that is comparable, that is not getting other business out of it. And I don't know that they're doing a bad job. I have a hard time tracking the money because they're doing so many things for us. I would
Correct.
like a grant company that's going to do one thing. They're not going to be overseeing projects at Lakeside for a specific amount and making money on the grant writing, the grant administration, and then turn around and get that money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way I would like to, my point of saying all this, that's what I would like. Things get a little less muddled.
You will find that a lot of engineering firms and grant companies do that, though. You'll see a lot of municipalities, their engineering firms do their grant writing for them. So
No, I get
I
that.
understand. Like in theory, I know what you're saying.
I don't particularly care for it.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
I think we could have went with that 90 grand and got a different company to help us, a different planner, to help us with our comprehensive plan. We don't necessarily have to turn around and they're working for it.
Right.
But there are plenty of people out there that I think would do, that may be more accessible to all of us, more local, and that's what I would like to see. I'll talk about the one company, Millennium, because that's the one I've been able to get a hold of their references. By the way, anybody can help me. I have another grant company. I have 2 engineers. I have an engineer and a planner. So if anybody wants to be involved, just reach out to me. You can help me with phone calls or whatever, if anybody's interested.
Has Millennium done any work here locally or around us? I know I spoke to
They work
Southeast.
for Kent.
I will
Oh, they do?
talk about it a little bit
wow.
then.
Good.
They're located out of Rockland County. They focus on the Hudson Valley. Let's see. The way they work, and I've spoken to two people so far that were on their list. One is the County of Dutchess. I don't want to mispronounce his name. It's spelled E-O-I-N, Rafter. He's the commissioner.
Oh, Owen Rafter. Yeah.
Owen Rafter.
Yeah.
He's Commissioner of Planning. He uses them in a flexible way, like I think we should, where you pay $5,000, you get put into a portal with all different municipal grants. They email every week to as many people as we want. And you can have unlimited phone calls with them to figure out what is good and what benefits us. As far as the writing, they do that internally in Dutchess County.
They have a grant writer in-house.
At the county.
Yeah.
It's not a grant writer, they split it amongst some of the employees.
Okay. Gotcha.
Town of Poughkeepsie I reached out to, I did hear back, but with the way things are, I don't have a sit-down office with a phone, so we played a lot of telephone tag. Village of Airmont, I talked to a Sharon Hallen, who's the village clerk. They love Millennium, quick, responsive. They're going into their 3rd year. They love the portal to check the grants. They get emails from them every week. They never miss a deadline. They do have Millennium Right grants and follow up with administration.
I think it's Southeast also, right, Councilman?
Southeast just started with them last year, and they got 1 grant, but I haven't been able to reach Nick like I said, I would rather have seen LaBerge go through the proper channels and actually send their RFP with the other RFPs, because I know they reached out to the clerk January 16th to get the information, but I don't know why they didn't send it back to the appropriate place.
At the appropriate time.
Right.
I think they sent it back, but they did not send it next day,
Well, they didn't meet
correct?
the deadline.
Right, they didn't
so-
send it next day, they sent it ground by mistake. Yep, so
Right.
you're 100% right, they did not get it on time.
Yeah.
We didn't get it on time.
Which, listen, that happens, but I
And they've
would
already
like-
been acting in this capacity for us for a few years now.
The other thing is on their disclosure, let's see if I have it here. I'll have to get back to that. No, here it is. Required disclosure of relationships to the town of Pawling. LaBerge had checked yes to related employees or any of the employees that you will use to carry out this contract with the town of Pawling, also an officer of the town of Pawling, or the spouse or the child or dependent of the town officer employee. They did check yes, that may be a mistake, I don't know.
They're related to an employee of the town of Pawling?
I'll read it, because I'm not saying they are or they aren't. Under required disclosure of relationships to the town of Pawling, A, related employees are any of the employees that you will use to carry out this contract with the town of Pawling, also an officer or employee of the town of Pawling, or the spouse or the child or a dependent of the town, of a town officer or employee. They checked yes. Maybe you can follow up with it, Jim?
Did they fill it? Did they,
I haven't seen that, so
is
I
there
don't
anything
know.
else in there? Is there like a thing where you say yes and then explain further?
It says, if yes, please provide details, and there's no details. So that
Okay.
was something I wanted to find
Well,
out as
yeah,
well.
for sure. I didn't know that. I hope that's a clerical error. I don't know.
I
I've never
mean,
known
it-
anyone to be related to
It could
LaBerge
be.
here.
It could be.
Right, they're based out of Albany. They're pretty far away. Hopefully that's a clerical error.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
I guess I would
it
ask,
is
is anybody on this board related to anyone that is employed or with LaBerge in any capacity at all?
No,
Might not be either.
So it could be any employee of the town. They didn't specify.
Hmm.
But that's just one
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons why I would like to try to go in a different direction. There's plenty of other things that.
So we can also,
do
if
for
you'd like
us.
to bring Millennium in, Marty, Councilman Migan, we can also set that up if you want to. I'm happy to meet with them also.
Sure.
And we can utilize the office and maybe Stephanie can help us, coordinate an email and see if anyone's available. And they're kind of local, right, Rockland County. So maybe we can get someone in there at the end of next week.
Sure.
To
Yeah,
go
I'll reach
over their
out. I'll reach out to
proposal
them.
and set it up with Stephanie, all right? And then we'll put it all together.
I'd like to
Oh,
discuss.
come on up, Christine.
I just wanted to touch base briefly. Marty, you mentioned you are having difficulty tracking money. It's the first I've heard of it. We have capital projects. Every project is, separated as it should be under general municipal law, and LaBerge fees for engineering are in a separate, a separate line item, and that's sent to the town board in full every month.
Yeah.
So please let me know if you're having
I think it's
difficulty.
hard because they do grant, they do engineer, they do contractor oversight. They do plenty of different things for.
That should all
for
be
the
broken
town.
out though, right, Christine? That's all
Oh,
separated.
yeah, sure.
yeah.
It's all documented.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm
So I
actually
can
more
s-
concerned.
I can sit down with you.
I'm actually more concerned. I was prepared to vote on this tonight, but if that packet says that they have a relationship here in the town and they checked yes on that, I don't know that I want to vote on this tonight until we get clarification that that is indeed a mistake. Because that's their packet, Councilman Migan, you said that they submitted with a yes check on
Let me see
relation.
what I do with it. This was one,
I hope to vote on this tonight and to keep, so we bridge a gap. I don't want to see a gap in our services while we continue to look for, if comparable providers. But that's the first that I've ever heard that they have a relationship somehow to the town of Pawling or an employee somewhere here.
So I looked through all the packets of all the different RFPs, that's how I found it.
But we didn't get one from LaBerge, so no one's
We
seen
did.
it.
They sent one late.
Yeah, we did.
That went instead to the clerk's office. I think it went to your office.
But I had no,
It didn't come in on time.
have anybody else seen it besides Marty? No. I haven't seen it.
It's
I
in the
never got
office.
it.
Colleen, have you seen it?
I didn't see it, no.
But a yes check on that thing is going to be an issue.
So,
If-
maybe, is it saying that they work with a principal of the town, which would be James, myself,
I'm
of
going
town
to pass
board?
this down to you, but I'll
I can
take
take a
it
look
back.
at it.
You
obviously.
could look at it and see, is that what it's saying too, that it's
Town
a
of
principal?
Pawling, LaBerge Group, required disclosure of relationships to the town of Pawling. The reporting entity is a corporation, yes. Subtitle A, related employees are any of the employees that you will use to carry out this contract within the town of Pawling, also an officer or employee of the town of Pawling, or a spouse or a child or a dependent of a town officer of the town of Pawling. And they checked yes.
But wouldn't you be the officer that signs all the addendums? Wouldn't that cover
They have
you?
no
Is that why?
relationship- There's no relationship to me.
No,
in
but
any
as an
capacity.
officer, it's saying also too. Is it a question grouping all those
I mean,
together?
it says right below that, if yes, please provide further detail. They wrote nothing, so I'm going to assume that this is an error, but I don't know that we can vote on this tonight with that box being checked. And it says related owners, if you are the owner of the company, are you or your spouse an officer or employee of the town? And it says no.
We get that.
After the 16th, right, Kathy?
No, it was after
For the
the 24th.
24th.
After the
I think it was
24th.
last week.
Yeah.
Way after, yeah.
This isn't something we can vote on, that I feel comfortable voting on with that box being checked like that. And I'm sure it's an error because they've worked here so long, we would have known this already.
That's a standard.
But this is what they've submitted, so.
That's a standard disclosure, I think, that all services
Yeah.
fill out, just as a matter of doing business here.
So
Yeah,
just
we're
to further the discussion, even though we may not vote on this tonight, which I would agree with then, is because these are the times where we can all discuss together,
Yeah.
what is the consensus? I mean, I know for myself, I've stated multiple times that, in my own opinion, I feel that we can't sustain the prices of LaBerge. That's just my own opinion. But I really don't know how the other board members feel, so can we have that discussion?
Well, I don't know what the other prices would be, so I don't know if that it's fair to say it's not sustainable, because we haven't had a price given for apples to apples yet from other companies, like we'll meet with Millennium next, to see the amount of grants that we do go after and the amount of grants we win and what they do administratively. You can't really couple in Route 22 South Sewer and the Lakeside project, those are separate construction projects. So as far as seeing what the costs are for doing grant administration, right, of $30,000 a year, I don't know what number these other companies would quote, even if there's places like Poughkeepsie or Dutchess County who said they've won grants with them. We have a lot of grants here, right? So administratively, the more grants you get, the more work it's going to be. So it'd be as simple as putting all of the grants we've been receiving or received in front of these other companies and saying, hey, if you were doing this administrative work as well, what's the cost of being this, right? So we can keep it apples to apples from them.
So are we going to, I guess my question is, are we going to do that? Because again, I know
Yeah,
last week,
absolutely,
some of us have
absolutely.
looked at the RFQs, but
Yeah.
I just don't want to keep this going on and on and on if there is another company that we do want to check that we feel could do it and do it
Sure.
cheaper. The other thing,
Hopefully
just,
we get Millennium in here for the end of next week. Stephanie and Marty can get them together. Maybe the end of next week, we'll get them in the building and we'll have a conversation with them. And then in that meantime, we're going to try and clear this up with LaBerge. We'll get,
Yeah.
sorry about that, we'll get an email out to them tomorrow morning,
Okay.
just to clarify why they checked this box, and if there is a relationship, then it should have been explained more in the subtitle
check,
below.
yes.
So I'm thinking that it was an accident and they didn't realize it, because why would you check yes and then not fill in the very next box that pertains to yes?
Right.
But I couldn't ask the board to vote on this tonight, having that's checked right now, either.
And just the other question, just because it came up under this discussion, my understanding, it might be actually even 2 years ago, the full board had decided we weren't doing stipends anymore. So I guess I just like clarity on that. Is the board still wanting to do stipends? Because if we've changed, then that would be helpful to discuss too.
A stipend,
Well, any stipends. We talked 2 years ago that the board.
let's revisit that under we get to discussion, then, so I don't want to get too far to
Oh, okay,
resolutions.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get back
come
to that
back
today. Yeah,
That's
for
fine.
sure.
Just because it came up.
So
Okay.
let's table resolution 51. That we're going to need clarity on that that box that they checked there. Like I said, I'm not aware of any relationships in the town of Pawling, officers, town of Pawling to LaBerge. So we'll get some clarity from them on to what that is.
Okay.
Resolution 55, facilities use request. I'll make a motion for 55. Again, a standard use request. We get these all the time. We'll get a lot more between now and the summer, obviously. They come through our people renting properties, whether it be Murrow or Lakeside Park. So I'll make a motion for resolution 55. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Resolution 56, authorizing submission of the 2025 Community Development Block Grant application for ADA compliance improvements for the Lathrop Building and the Teen Center facilities. Talking about grants again, but this is great. We win a lot of them. These are all very helpful. I did speak with Wendell and Robin about this one briefly today, so they're both looking forward to hopefully being able to get this. I'll make a motion for resolution 56. Could I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
What's the timeline on this grant?
This one is coming up pretty quickly. I spoke with Wendell about 2 or 3 grants today. Let me see what the date on this one is. I believe it was in sometime in March this one was due. I don't have the exact date for your council, but I can get it for you tomorrow. It's in my emails. I met with Wendell and Robin over at the park today about it. All in favor for that? 56?
Aye.
They abstain for now.
Okay. Resolution 57, budget amendments. Fiscal year 2025, again, Christine's here. Christine, thanks so much for being at all of our meetings. These are on the agenda every single month. Christine's always making changes month to month on our bill pays as we get through the year. So these are standard budget amendments. I'll make a motion for resolution 57. Could I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I understand the moves here. Is the reason that the road sign project, that the money was taken out of health insurance because we have freed up money there?
Remember when the night shift rates came in, they hadn't raised the rates? So we had factored in a raise for that. We still had a raise because we went from the night shift, back onto the night shift Empire plan, but it wasn't as significant. And then in addition to that, we've had a number of people who switched to MVP. So that has helped us.
Okay.
So that was it. So we were able to take from there.
The only other,
So far, so good.
yeah, the only other question I would have is, I know this is, 20,000 is just a start for the road signs.
Yes.
Do we have an idea of the full amount that it would cost?
I don't know if Bobby put that together. He was working on it, but I don't think he has it together yet for us.
Yeah, Bobby's working on it, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be a multi-year plan, just based on the budgetary constraints. Because I think we talked about 44,000 just for posts.
Okay.
They were hoping to try and do those in-house if they could, if I was correct, right, Christine?
Whatever he can get done for 20 grand this year.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
All in favor of resolution 57?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution 58, authorization of reimbursement Medicare Part B for the tax collector. I know we've been back and forth for a couple of years with our tax collector about how to, making some movements over there in her office for her, and this is something we all agreed on. I'll make a motion for resolution 58. Could I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And resolution 59. Excuse me. Payment of bills for the town of Pawling. I'll make a motion for resolution 59. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item up, town board items for special consideration and new business. I will start with Councilwoman Pitt this week.
I just have one minor thing. Probably over the next week, I'll send over to the full board an updated a copy of our Roosevelt Vet contract, that's been worked on with staff over at Roosevelt Vet and Dog Control Officer, Mary Madsen, so I hope to have that on, the agenda, the docket for approval at some point next month. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman McCarthy?
Just wondering how everybody's making out with the comprehensive plan, trying to find members, because
I have been reaching out as well, trying to
too.
put together a group. I know Mark Chipkin, he's fantastic. He's been so involved in a lot of stuff, and he's reached out to me as well about this. So we are looking to put together a good committee, and in that sense, I did speak briefly with Mike Liguori, our planning and zoning attorney as well. I mentioned to him that this project was going to go on, and I did have a brief conversation with Jay Erickson as well from our planning board. So we're going to put together something probably within a week or two that we'll get out there to publicize it, and then we'll try and put together a team that, like I said to Mark the other day, I think it's important that when we put together that committee for the comprehensive plan, we try and cover all different corridors of Pawling, right? So that there's people in homes feel represented, people in the village feel represented, people on Quaker Hill feel represented, and try and go east to west and north to south. So when hopefully we get enough applicants that want to be involved, and we get some planning members and town board members, so we have that background as well. But that'll give enough of a very broad, scope, because the last thing we want is any part of the community feeling that they weren't represented in this process. And Jim, if they get an update, I'll get that out to the whole board as
Great.
well. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I have.
Councilwoman Stowe.
So just stipends, so just to get some clarity, because I think that, I do feel that there's sometimes, we have given stipends, and I think they're deserved, but I also know we've had discussions that we weren't going to do them. So I
Going away
think
from them.
just going forward, just for the full board's information, what's the consensus
I
of
don't know
what
that
we think?
I don't know that we have an exact, like a perfect formula at this point in time, but I do. I tend to agree with you. I was never a big stipend person. I did like them in the beginning because you can make them very job specific, right, and item specific. I could see how that created different views in other departments. As the polling grows and everything seems to get busier here and departments get busier, we may be better off just revisiting people's workloads in those departments, right? So rather than calling it a stipend, say, okay, bookkeeping is now doing grant administration for the rest of the time, so maybe you just make adjustments to the work duties, the job duties at office, or the clerk's office, or whatever office, building department, whatever it may be. Obviously, before we make those decisions, those are things that we're going to talk in length about. I tend to think that if things are going to continue to progress and grow here and get busier, a perfect example is our building department. The numbers, again, I met with them briefly this morning and yesterday. We have two buildings, a code enforcement and a building inspector in there and a full-time clerk, and they're busier than they've ever been. And they're loaded up. So I would tend to agree with you where maybe stipends aren't the right way to go moving forward, but if things continue to stay busy, maybe it's more just revisiting the job duties of that title and addressing the compensation of that title, and then just building in so that while people are there, they know what it is, and if someone new came in interviewing, they know that this is part of what's going to be required there, and that's why the pay would reflect it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess I just feel too that if somebody is doing above and beyond outside of their job description, then I do think there should be discussions too about compensation. So
That's probably why
just want
that's probably the
clarity.
why, that's,
Just want
so that's
clarity.
probably why we're certain, I could see why stipends, you could never, in my opinion, I could see why you would never go away from stipends completely, right? Because they're just something that they could be very, very specific. Just as, just Spitfire, like what Ananda's doing right now with FEMA, right? We haven't had a FEMA settlement or a grant in a very long time in Pawling, right? Because we've been lucky to not have a natural disaster here. But right now, she's carrying that workload.
Yes.
Right, so you wouldn't want to make an adjustment to salary because you may not have another major storm for 20 years here that ever would require that workload. So I could see why you would entertain that at the time being because of the additional workload. Other than, rec growing and building department growing and things like that, where you're taking on more stuff and building more programming, that's where I would think you would look at a job title and say, these are something we know is going to stay here for a long time, or as the population increases. So that's why I think maybe stipends shouldn't be used everywhere, but there's always a place for them, and it would be very specific per department and per workload.
Do the other I'm just curious, like what you
I would
guys
agree
think.
more to adjust the job title and adjust their salary. So it's not a, whoever is doing the job now leaves, the next person comes in, knows that that's part of the
Part of
job
the-
title.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think, but there are definitely certain issues for stipends that we would need to continue.
Yeah.
But I think I'd rather see, if you're going to increase somebody's workload, that they get compensated and as part of their salary.
And I think in the past, stipends were used differently for whatever reason, I feel. Looking back on, how folks were paid in the past and what they were compensated for in the past, it doesn't seem like stipends were used as a situation for for example, as to what James just described with an employee over at the building department. I'm not in favor of stipends, and that's what we had discussed a couple of years ago, moving forward. And, obviously, I think we would be open for discussion and in favor of exactly what we just spoke about, an increased workload, different job descriptions, so on and so forth. And then that's obviously expected, moving
Certainly.
forward.
Thank you.
I appreciate the discussion.
I mean, my concern would be you change the job specifications and increase workload. Some people are on a part-time basis.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I mean, me personally, I'm not looking necessarily to add anybody to other than part-time,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I want to turn a part-time job into a full-time job right now.
No, of course not. That's not, I don't think that's the discussion. Yeah.
Why, do you feel that that's the discussion?
Oh, Jim said added workload to certain departments.
Yeah, but I don't think that means
I
turning a
didn't mean
part-timer
saying
to
taking
a
someone
full-time.
part-time, full-time.
No,
I was just saying
that's fine.
A part-time person may do bookkeeping one day and may do
Okay.
grants the next day.
Good.
But they would just need to know what they're doing, not
Right.
that we're going to make somebody full-time just by
No.
doing. So
I mean,
that's not
if-
what I said. I was just clarifying that
I
at
don't
least that
know
people
that-
would know what their job title is.
I mean, I would think most part-time people have, their time is fully utilized now to add other things. I'm just trying to figure out
I
how
don't
that
know,
would
yeah.
work.
I think you have to talk to those departments, though. I wouldn't assume that maybe, is the case, but. Anything else, Councilwoman?
No, that was it. Thank you for the discussion.
Councilor Migan?
So last week, we appointed a new Conservation Advisory Board.
Yeah.
How do we go about figuring out a place and a time for them to meet?
We did already. We
I
met
think
with them
they
here.
have.
Yeah.
Okay. What-
Yeah, we
what-
met with them
what-
here.
what-
They're gonna meet next door in the Planning and Zoning Department.
Okay.
And we had them meet with Wendell. Wendell made sure they had access, security code to get in. Yep, they met with Joanne over there as well, to know that they're
Okay.
meeting over there. We did a follow meeting with Mark Chipkin here as well, brought him up to speed on it all. He attended a meeting with Wendell as well.
Thank you.
As far as getting access and a filing cabinet and things of that nature are there also. And he's gonna get us the date of their first meeting. I told him that their first meeting that they have, I'd be happy to attend it, to meet everybody and
Yeah, I'd
walk them
like
through the
to
process,
attend
show
it
them
as
all the
well.
facilities and the whole nine as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Will that be a meeting that's open to the public?
that was going to be my
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
Oh, so anybody could go?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
good.
Just let Wendell know if you're gonna show up so you can add some more chairs over there.
Yeah, stand.
Depends what night they are.
All
I'll
right,
just
thank
touch
you.
back one more thing, I'm sorry, about the stipend conversation with how it seems like it had rolled out in the past. If I wasn't clear, that looks like it was utilized as a means to, boost one salary in a way. And then that just continued. That was a way of taking care of your employee back then. So maybe whenever that need came up, maybe it wasn't budget season, and that's the way it just rolled on out, and it just continued for them.
And in my experience, it's always been for extra work.
Well,
As
yeah,
for-
I would hope so.
I'll use water billing for,
Yeah.
the clerk's office
Right.
doesn't, that's not part of our job duties, but among many other things that we do.
Anything else, Councilman Migan?
No, thank you.
All right, next item would be privilege of floor with respect to agenda and non-agenda items. Anyone with any comments for the board, come up, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments around 3 minutes. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.